Hi everyone, my name is Theo Baloyi. I'm the founder of Africa's premium sneaker brand. Welcome, welcome, welcome. First and foremost, I would love to say thank you to for to innovation innovate Devon for the invitation. It's truly a pleasure to be on this platform and engaging with fellow entrepreneurs, fellow innovators. My message today, I'm just going to be talking about maximizing opportunities and how I'm going to engage with everyone on the platform. It's basically I'm going to tell my life story, and to talk about something that I firmly believe in, which is maximizing opportunities. Opportunity comes in different forms, in different shapes and sizes, directly and indirectly. And I think as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to maximize and be able to identify the smallest and the biggest opportunities and really find a way to maximize them so that they are favorable, for you or to you or for your business in the future. And I want to talk about how in my personal life, in my entrepreneurial journey, I have managed to maximize opportunities. Just before I get into that, I just want to also advise everyone who has joined that, I will obviously give the talk and you are most welcome, to ask questions, in the chat box. And then at the end of the talk, we will do a little bit of, Q&A. Maybe we'll take about 5 questions and we will run through them. As I've already introduced myself, my name is Theo Baloyi. I am the founder of Africa's premium sneaker brand, Bathu. Our vision is to build a shoe brand that Africans can proudly affiliate with a mission to reignite hope and create sustainable jobs. And I know maybe you might be wondering, what is that all about, and then how are we actually doing that? I mean, to date, we've got about 26 retail stores, nationwide. We just got named one of the at the top 25, most admired African brands in Africa, ranking number 10, and with an effort to reignite hope and create sustainable jobs, we employ about 230 people in our business. And I know you might be asking yourself, how did all of this come about? And by the way, we started from humble beginnings in a room in Alexandra. And, it was all about maximizing the opportunities that came my way, in my personal life, in my corporate journey, in my entrepreneurial journey. Like I've said, opportunities come in different sizes, in different forms, shapes as well, direct and indirectly. And I think that's one thing that I think I, credit, the little bit of, I think, success and what we've built in our business, it's because we've managed to really maximize opportunities. So talking about my background and who I am, I was born and bred in Pretoria, I lived there for about 10 years, then later relocated to a village called Pake. It's just a few kilometers, about 56 kilometers outside Hammanskraal. That's where I spent most of my childhood, where I matriculated as well. And then later, like any other, kid, who's got a dream to really make something of their life, I later relocated to Johannesburg, to further my studies in accounting. And that's when I lived with my uncle in Alexandra. And I think that's where the hustle bug or the entrepreneurial bug bit me, But before I go into that, I just want to also, obviously in reference to my message of maximizing opportunities, I come from, I wouldn't say from, a poverty-stricken background, but I come from a middle class, background. My late dad was a male nurse working at Jubilee Hospital, which is in Hammanskraal. My mom was, a store manager at Louis Furniture Store. So, and I think my parents did everything else that they can to, I think, to give me and my sister, the best living and the best, I think, resources to keep ourselves and to really prepare, for our future, Then what happened was that my dad left his job after working, at the hospital for about 15 years to go into business. And what he did then was he was an estate agent, obviously selling property. And I matriculated in 2008, I think the worst year to matriculate because obviously because of the credit crunch that we experienced then, the recession of 2008, we say it's the pandemic before COVID. And at the time, my dad, obviously the property market was not doing so well, but I did very well in accounting in a sense that, I was obviously doing well and I was top of my class at the time. And my dad, obviously, being an estate agent, he used to engage with a lot of, I think, conveyancers, attorneys as well. And he used to show them my grades in accounting, and they would say, your son is doing so well in accounting, and I think he should pursue a career in accounting. And nonetheless, it's something that I really enjoyed. It's a subject that I really enjoyed, a field of study that I really did well and really enjoyed. And in my community, and where I come from, in my family, I'm the first person to matriculate with distinction. I'm the first person to go to university and get a degree, the first person to work for, a great global firm, the first person to even go overseas, and looking at that, it has always been my dream to really break the cycle in my family. And obviously it was through, the opportunities that were thrown to me that I've managed to break the barriers, and to break the cycle as well. And one of the biggest opportunities that I've gotten was that when I matriculated in 2008, my late dad, what he did was that, because he looked at my grades, and obviously he didn't have the money because, to pay for my tuition and to take me to varsity so that I can further my studies, due to the fact that, it was recession in 2008, the property market was crashing. So he couldn't sell any properties that year. But what he did then, which for me, it was a great opportunity, was that he sold his car. So he believed in me so much that he sold his car for me to go to varsity. It was an old Honda Baloyi, which had value at the time. And with that money, what we did was, we managed to pay my tuition, not for the entire year though, but it was, how it works in varsity is that you would often have a deposit and come up with a payment plan. So the value or the proceeds from the sale of the car, what we use them to pay the deposit at varsity, and then relocated to Johannesburg, to obviously further my studies with the sole mandate for the year to secure a bursary, and for me that was an opportunity because it's not everyone who has a dad who was so fortunate, who had a dad like I had, who could sell their car so that I can go to varsity. So my sole mandate for the year, was to maximize that opportunity to set my foot in varsity. And how I did that was that I studied so hard in that year that I, did so well in my first semester and secured 100% bursary from Tomorrow Trust. And obviously that was a great, I think, achievement for me and a great relief for my parents as well. So going into second year, now I've got a bursary, I continued the same work ethic, and the intention was always the same, to really grasp as many opportunities that are coming my way and really utilize them to create, more opportunities. And how I've done that with the Tomorrow Trust opportunities, that I remained resilient. I remained, I was committed to my work as well, because where I grew up as well, it was a village, a village with no internet access. I had to walk 2 kilometers to school. It was not a metropolitan city. It was a village, that was in lag. So even when I went to varsity, I remember this very well, that my first day, an accounting lecture, accounting 101, and all I knew that I wanted to be an accountant, but I was not even clued up. I didn't even know, the processes as to how do you go about qualifying, and working for, great companies. So in my first day of accounting, because, the lecturer walked into class and asked that I obviously introduced himself and said, I'm your lecturer for accounting 101. And he asked the question that, can you name the top 4 accounting firms in the world, and then everyone, knew the accounting firms, except I think for me and a few other guys, because for me, where I come from, a firm for me was a factory, because we used to have a Nestle factory in Babelegi in Hammanskraal. That's the only firm that I knew, so when they said accounting firms, I didn't know what it was all about or what they do. I thought, what do they do with this, accounting firms? Do they manufacture textbooks or what, So from that day, I knew very well that I'm already behind, I'm already behind my peers, because I didn't know a lot of things. So I then made a call to spend time at the library, at varsity. And I think that's where I equipped myself, with a lot of things, with knowledge that really, helped me to be on par with my peers. And at some point to actually be even, above them, because I would spend a lot of time at the library, even on days when I don't have class, even on Saturdays, I would be at the library, and I think that thing really helped me a lot, that to a point that, in my second year of my undergrad, I became the top accounting student of the year, and with the Tomorrow Trust Bursary Fund. That the following year, when I went to third year, I PwC came to Tomorrow Trust looking to fund, one student, and really fund them and give them a vacation a job opportunity, and later will result into an internship. And obviously, because I was the top accounting student of the year, that's how they selected me. For me, that was another opportunity to really excel and to really elevate, my career, and to really, maximize the opportunities that were coming my way. Because of now, I'm at the top 4 accounting firm, PwC, a firm that was, a firm that is, I think, a great firm that has given me so much, to take away from. And again, before I continue with that story, when I was doing my second year in Alexandra, I I used to sell perfumes door to door. I used to sell perfumes door to door, and that's a business that I started with my best friend Andrew. And how we started that business, I think it was kind of genius, because we looked at the consumption that was happening around Alexander Township. People liked looking good, dressing up, looking the part, but not everyone could afford, a cologne or expensive cologne or expensive perfume, and then we decided to actually, try to bridge that market, or bridge that gap, or satisfy that gap by, selling oil-based perfumes, of high quality, not that expensive, but they can still smell great as well. So, and how we started it, because we didn't have money in the fund to start that business. We knew someone who used to sell hand parts of, or packages of, ties, cufflinks, and pocket squares. And we went to him. We like, how about that you give us your stock on consignment, and then we add our own markup, and we will, obviously pay you back your cut end of the month, and we'll take our own cut. We did so well in that business because it was around 2010, when even how train was the new in thing. So a lot of, young professionals will prefer to commute using how train, and we would go and park at how train station, and sometimes go to, law firms and accounting firms, and basically the corporate companies in Sentin, and try to sell those packages. And we did so well in that business that we managed to raise some money, and eventually found a supplier for all based perfumes, and invested in that perfume business. We used the proceeds to start as seed capital to start the perfume business. And that perfume business became so big in Alexander Township that, we end up having a huge database of customers that would literally just support our business, and build a healthy, I think, return customer base, and that was a great business that really taught us a lot about the basics of entrepreneurship, because we were selling all based perfumes that were not branded. And then we learned a lot about the art of marketing, about sales, because we had to convince a lot of people to buy into our product, that it is of great quality, and then it would really, work for them. And number three, we did something that I think was the biggest lesson, which we did in business. We used to do credit sales, and then so we'll have credit sales with a few people, some people still owe us till today, and we would then collect end of the month. So it was basically, I think, a core foundation of entrepreneurship that we got into, and we made a good money out of it. But then obviously, I had to leave the business, because now I was employed at PwC after my postgrad, where I had to go work, and also I was part of the graduate program in advisory. And that obviously comes with a lot when you are in corporate, because there's project across the country that you need to, focus on. You're traveling a lot, you sometimes working on weekends as well. So we lost a little bit of focus in the perfume business until it died out. But obviously, I was very much equipped with, I think, a great job, and I was in a job that really equipped me with great skills that would later give opportunities. And when I got to PwC, I think by default, it was a blessing in disguise that, our perfume business was, slowed down a bit, because then it gave me an opportunity for me to focus on my job and to do really well. So when I got into PwC, as part of the, bursary contract, the agreement was, I would come for vacation work when I'm doing my undergrad and my postgrad. Then when I graduate, I would come work back, the hours or the money that they've invested in, in my tuition, or in my qualification, or while I was studying. So I had to work it back. I had to work it back by basically, working at that, having an internship for a year, and it was a fixed term contract. So meaning that after 12 months, they were not guaranteeing me a job. Then again, for me to set my foot, at PwC, to build that great network, it was an opportunity for me. I did so well, in that internship that at the end of the internship program, they didn't want to let me go. So they were like, there's no way we're letting go of Theo. We think it would be a great asset to the firm. And then they employed me, on permanent basis. And, it's not because of our smart or anything. I believe that I maximize the opportunity by making sure that, from technical skills and soft skills, at the firm, I show up. And soft skills could be simple things like great attitude, being able to even work on non-chargeable hours, being able to work on, weekends, simple things like basically I was the type of guy at the firm, where if we're sitting on the boardroom team of 10 working on a strategy project or on an asset management project, or we're doing audit, at the client, I would often, ask my managers or ask anyone in the team that, I'm going out for coffee, would anyone like some, before I knock off, I would go to my manager and say, hey, Rian, I'm about to knock off. I've sent you all the deliverables, I'm about to go home. Anything else that I could help you with? And sometimes, obviously, they'll say, no, thank you so much, Theo. Or sometimes they will go like, oh, I actually have another project that is not aligned with this project. Can you jump on it and help me with it? And I'll always be able to do that to a point that, I think we're a team of about the whole firm, it was about 3,500, employees. We're still at Sunny Hill at the time. Now PwC is at Waterfall. When we were still in Sunny Hill, it was about 3,500 employees, across that office alone. And I think the team for advisory was anything around, I think 1,200, with I think 400 employees being the asset management team and strategy. And what happened in that year was that we had a project that was short term, asset management project in Dubai. And PwC Dubai or PwC Middle East, actually, the EMEA market had this project, but they wanted the asset management expertise, to run, the asset management leg of the project. And they didn't have the resources or the expertise at PwC, the Middle East. So they then but top 5, accounting professions in the world. Psycha is rated top world, and that's how we get the expertise of asset management team from Africa to be part of that. And the nature of that project was that they wanted one partner on the job, one senior manager, and one senior consultant. And obvious, when they selected me, because they selected me basically because of my work ethic at the time and the quality of work that I brought in, and I made it to the cut. One partner on the job, one senior manager and one senior consultant. I was a senior consultant of the job, and that's how I got to be at Dubai. So when we got to Dubai, it was a 6 months, I think, project. And we worked so hard and we did so well that the client, had, I think, presence in other parts of the Middle East. We wanted PW with another, contract to do other parts of the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and so forth. PwC Middle East realized that identify the gap in our region. They ended up to set up a team in Dubai for asset management because they never had, and they didn't always keep on outsourcing, asset resources from South Africa. Then they brought my in, and partner was like, he would actually bring his own team there. And that's how I got to have that opportunity in Dubai and work in Dubai. And obviously, like, traveling between South Africa and Dubai, I engage with a lot of people, and I think that's where the idea of Bathu came about. And a lot of people ask me that, how did this come about? So I'm in corporate now. It's about, I think 3 to 4 years, and I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. I'm in Dubai, I'm earning tax-free salary 4 times what I was earning in South Africa, doing so well, just got to Dubai, worked there as well. And before I left the firm, I was up for promotion as well, So in between my travels between South Africa and Dubai, I love sneakers myself. So I used to buy a lot of sneakers. I used to buy a lot of sneakers, limited editions, that were not even available in South Africa at the time. So oftentimes when I come back home, my friends or people when I'm walking, they will ask me, where did I buy those, sneakers? Because they've been looking for them, they can't find them. I remember one of the brands that I bought at the time was the Adidas Stan Smith, a sneaker, and which it hadn't arrived in South Africa at the time. So in between the travels, end of 2015, I used to buy so many sneakers that end of 2015, I had such a valuable collection of sneakers, a huge, I think, collection of limited edition that was, very valuable, high value. And when I went through that collection, I realized that, something is missing. All these brands that I've got in my collection, they're actually international footwear brands, high collection. So how did I, and that did not sit well with me, because we as Africans, we consume so much of sneakers. And that's when the work of Bathu started, because oftentimes when I went back home in Alexandria, I could see that our brothers and sisters are suffering. A lot of them are not employed. A lot of them haven't, gotten a lot of opportunities that we've gotten. And oftentimes when I talk to them, I realize that it's not because of their lazy or anything. There's, high rate of unemployment in the townships, and also, people have sort of are giving up. People are losing hope on the government, are losing hope on, the possibilities of this universe. So I took it upon myself to do a little bit, just to play a part in my community, in Alex, by starting a shoe brand and starting something that can, number one, reignite hope, and if possible, create jobs. If I can do that, I can actually, I think for me, it would have been a great, thing for me to do, and I would be very proud of it. And how I started was that in between my travels, one day I was going to Saudi Arabia, flying from South Africa with an 8-hour layover, at the duty free in Dubai airport, without, launch access at the time. And what happened was that, there was this store at the duty free that had, I think traffic, people were buying from that store and they were selling tourist stuff. So I went into that store, and fortunately the owner was there, and I started talking to him about his brand, and this was the brand that I think a lot of French people resonated with, because the guy was from France. And on my way, on my connection flight to Saudi Arabia, I started thinking about, what are we doing as Africans to tell our own stories? So looking at that brand, I realized that here's this guy, duty free, Dubai airport, telling a story that a lot of French people or the French community can resonate with. What are we doing as Africans, to tell our own stories? Then I got to do, about 18 months of research and development around snake for Bathu. And I did about, proof of concept as well, 18 months, obviously research and development, quality controls, quality testing, getting the factories, just the behind the scenes work of working. And one of the most fascinating, I think, factor from my research was that we've got about 7 continents in the world, and each and every continent, has some sort of a footwear brand that is representing that part of the world, or sort of a presentation, from footwear brands. You look at South America, they've got Havana and they've got Havana and I think Ipanema as well. You look at the States, they've got obviously Nike started by Phil Knight, they've got Converse started by Chuck Taylor, and Under Armour started by Kevin Plank. A lot of European shoe brands, Puma, Adidas, a lot of Italian footwear brands as well. When I came down to South Africa as a whole, I couldn't find one footwear brand that can be benchmarked with all these international footwear brands. And when you're talking benchmarking, we can go as far as product innovation, product development. We can go as far as even CSR or market share. Yet we as Africans, we consume so much of sneakers. Myself, when I look at my available collection, buying so much of sneakers. Yet we don't even have one footwear brand that can be benchmarked. We have a lot of footwear brands in Africa, don't get me wrong, but nothing that can fairly, present Africa at that level. And that's when I started talking about working on the concept Bathu, because the word Bathu means shoe in South African slang. We use it in townships to refer to any type of a shoe. And the beauty about it is that Africa is known to be, a continent that is filled with so much heritage, different ways of speaking, different ways of engaging, different ways of, dressing. I mean, South Africa alone, we're known to be a rainbow nation, with the same dynamics, of, different dynamics of doing things, different ways of speaking. I mean, I always say this, that you have Zulu, but in Zulu, you've got so many Zulus, different ways of speaking Zulu as well, So I wanted to incorporate a story around, South African diversity that talks about unity. And that's what Bathu is about, because the beauty about Bathu is that it's a word that, came from the days of Sophia Town, way prior democracy, in referral to a shoe. It was used by a language called Tsotsital, which we now, today's generation, we refer to it as slang, and it refers to a shoe. And the beauty about Bathu is that you don't have to speak Sotho, Ndebele, Zulu, Xhosa to know what Bathu is. Bathu is shoe in South African townships, and it's one word that brings us together. You don't have to come from Alexandra, Soweto, Tembisa, Umlazi, Gugulethu, Ipatu, and Bathu, that's what it means in South African, slang. It means shoe. So why are we not taking this weight that tells a beautiful South African story around unity and tell it to the world? I took it upon myself to conceptualize this brand into a sneaker brand, and that's how we built the business. So I did about 18 months of research, development, and proof of concept. Did about 100 pairs, concept, and we launched the brand at 400 pairs. I remember the day when we launched the brand, we crashed due to, our website crashed due to frequent visit, because everyone was just wanted to check and click on the link. What is this Bathu about? What is this brand about? And we did about 400 pairs, and later on to do 100. Might be asking, how did I fund the business? So because I was still employed at PwC, I worked for them for 5 years, and because when I was in Dubai, obviously I was earning the money, never changed my lifestyle, used all my savings that I've put together in the last 5 years, used it at seed capital to start the business, and we were never funded by anyone till today, no funding in the business, no private or public equity or any sort of venture capitalist, that have put money into our business, even state-owned companies or anything. We built it from those savings that I had, to the business that it is today. Obviously invested in the business, and during our proof of concept, I remember, because in 2015 there was a trend that was happening around colorful socks, a trend that was mainly dominated by a brand called so I wanted to build a happy shoe, and because being a sneakerhead myself, the best way to build a happy shoe was to try to bring a lot of color into the shoe. And then I realized one thing, that a lot of people are wearing their colorful socks, but they're not showing them off. You can only show them off when you are wearing a short, or when you sit down, your trouser goes up a bit. So how about that we create a shoe that you can actually see your socks when you're wearing them? So I came up with the concept of the mesh material, or the mesh edition, a see-through sneaker where you can literally see through, and it's got some ventilation as well. And that's how we innovated that, prototype. And we were declined 13 times by the factory, mainly because in footwear manufacturing, the mesh edition is used as a component of a shoe. It's either on top, on the side, or at the back. So the factory declined us mainly because they couldn't see how possible is that, to build a shoe outside, or with mesh, and a complete shoe, and with an entire shoe with mesh material. But eventually I went down to them, and then they ended up approving me after declining me for about 13 times. And for us, it was about innovation, because we didn't just want to be a shoe brand that comes from Africa, but not do anything different, So the colors on the shoe, on our soul, it was a matter of just trying to build happiness and bring happiness, from our clients, feet and all of that, and also build a shoe, that can sort of bring ventilation, because people have different problems around, their feet. So we wanted to come up with a solution for those kind of problems as well. And we launched the brand with 400 pairs, like I've said, and we went on to do 1,000 pairs. And even how we started, remember, my mission was very simple. All I wanted to do was to do something for my community at the time to really, employ a few people, in my street, if possible, in Alexandra, where I lived, the people that I knew that were unemployed, instead of me being the guy that always gives them 20 bucks or 50 bucks whenever I'm around. How about that I build something that can be sustainable for them, and that's how we went about it. So my point was that even when we started, because we were very small, we used to even employ, very informally. We never had a proper human capital, or HR team, to do the onboarding, the recruitment, So it was a matter of today we've got 20 pairs, we're getting, a spirit to come help us pack the box. Tomorrow we've got 60 pairs, we're getting 2 more guys. The next day we've got 100 orders, we're getting 3 more guys to pack the shoes, and I'm doing the runaround as well and delivering in my car. So I used to deliver with my car and with all the shoes in my boot, and deliver from the boot of my car, and that's how we got to build the business. After a while, about 3-4 months of launching the business, then I realized that actually, this business got great potential, and I can't run it the way I'm running it. So I had to leave my job in Dubai. I had to quit my job in Dubai, relocate back to South Africa to properly build this business, to corporatize it, to put the right infrastructure in place, and allow it to scale. And long story short, that's how we built the business. Then we went on to do about 10,000 pairs. We moved out of LX, to occupy I think it was a 40 square meter warehouse of storage. And then we got few more units. And then we went on to occupy a 300 square meter warehouse and in Midrand as well. And what happened in that stage was that now the business was gaining momentum. We had a great appetite in South Africa. The first 2 years of our business, we were very intentional about not going, into retail, in retail, meaning that, even retailing our products in other stores or even having stores of our own, because my intention when I started the business were very clear. I wanted to own the end-to-end value chain, because in our mission about reigniting hope and creating sustainable jobs, I understood very well that there's power in having control of different components of your value chain, because it's going to allow you to scale. For instance, with our model is that we own the means of production, from the way we produce and factory and everything else, and the production lines, and to warehousing our shoes, at our headquarters, in Centurion. When I warehouse the shoes, I get someone, I employ someone to come pack the shoes. They pack the shoes. When I get my own truck and I own the truck, I get someone to drive the truck to deliver to my own retail stores. When I build the retail store, I get someone to be in the store and employ them to sell the shoes. Most importantly, data is a big thing. When Theo comes in to buy the shoe, I get their data, and the data sits with me, not with the retailer, not with any other service provider, but with Bathu. I mean, with our, I think, e-commerce now, we're sitting on 100,000 plus subscribers, that we've built over the years. And it's really important that, because when you have that data, you can do anything with it. You can remarket new products, you can remarket, brand campaigns and so forth, and really be able, to reach those people just by the click of the button, which is very, very important. And most importantly, because our mission is very clear about what we want to do for our communities, we understand that with owning the end-to-end value chain at every, I think, territory where we trade in, it allows us to amplify and to build around our mission and our vision, and that's where we are. Long story short, and with where we are today, as a business, is that we've got about 26 retail stores nationwide. We employ about 230 plus people in the business, and it all started by a single mission and vision to build a shoe brand that Africans can proudly affiliate with, while at it, to reignite hope for our people and create sustainable jobs. And that's who we are. I mean, obviously, over the years, we've gotten so many accolades, from Forbes 30 under 30, Businessman of the Year. It's something that is very close to my heart, which is, Transformation Champion of the Year from the BBQ Awards. For me, that's close to my heart, because I feel that's what our business is doing in the communities that we trade at, being, transforming lives and transforming people, empowering people. And oftentimes I hear about the Theo Baloyi story and the Patchy story that is really inspirational to a lot of people. But tell you what, our tagline says, "Walk your journey," and our brand promise speaks exactly to that. That We want to be a footwear brand, a shoe brand that accommodates everyone who's on a journey of greatness, a journey of, becoming a doctor, a journey of, realizing your dreams, a journey of becoming the president, a journey of changing the ecosystem in Africa. We want to be a shoe of choice in that journey, because you don't put in a shoe unless you go somewhere. So when you're on a journey for greatness, we want Bathu to be a shoe of choice in your journey. And talking about our people in the business, I'm saying that in South Africa, we're showing Africa how we've walked our journey from a small room in Alex to 26, retail stores nationwide, to employing about 230 people in South Africa. And in our business alone, we've got so many inspiring stories where people have walked the journey with the business. People who have bought their first cars, some people are on their third cars already. People who have, built homes for their parents. People who have erected tombstones for their late ones. People who are now in their own right, mentors and role models in their own society, in the communities that they live at, or where they come from, So we are about that business, a shoe brand that Africans can proudly affiliate with. And our brand promise from us to you is that we want to walk the journey with you. And that's who we are. And then when you go into Africa, it's so humbling that just a few weeks ago we were ranked, at top 25 most admired brands. And we ranked number 10 on that list, alongside big brands, like ShopRite, Ethiopian Airways, the Dangote Group, and we came number 10, Safari.com and them, and some of the big brands came below us. And that really goes to show that our vision to build a shoe brand that Africans can partly affiliate with, it's slowly but surely coming to be a reality. And we've got great appetite in different parts of, Africa as well. The survey was conducted over 28 countries, which constitutes of 80% of African consumers, about 80,000, brand mentions, and about 3,500 unique brands. And here's this brand that started from a room in Alex. No one held them out, no funding from the government, no funding from private or public equity, a dream that started by just building for the community. It goes to sit at number 10 alongside big corporate brands that have been operating and trading in Africa for decades and centuries. So for us, it couldn't have been possible without our team, our people, most importantly, our esteemed clients that have bought our shoes. And when I mean esteemed clients, I also mean our potential clients. And I'm talking about people who probably want to buy a pair of Bathu, but they probably can't afford for different reasons, but yet they keep on looting for our story. They keep on sharing, our posts on social media. They keep on telling people about our brand. All of that couldn't have been possible without the people that have been involved in this business. And that's who we are as a business. And I think it's very important that we as entrepreneurs, we come up with innovative, ways of doing business. You look at what's happening in Silicon Valley, about how they really start, the tech startup that are in Silicon Valley, how they really start small, but with their approach in building and scaling, they build and scale for the rest of the world, And then I think for far too long, Africa has been, or Africa, let me say Africa, has been known to really build on a small scale. I mean, we look at South Africa, we come from townships when, we had successful entrepreneurs, but, as soon as the founder dies, the business dies as well. You have that general dealer in a township, it's the biggest general dealer, but as soon as the founder dies, the business dies out. It never scales to be, a ShopRite, or it never scales to be an Uber Eats. We have that taxi business, that family business that had taxi business, as soon as the founder dies, the business that dies. Why couldn't that taxi business evolve with the times and be innovative to be, a taxify of today, or to be an Uber of today? That can be an innovation that started in Africa and the rest of the world, can receive. And talking about the rest of the world is ready for Africa. And we've got a greatest advantage in Africa. It's our heritage. Africa is well diversified. It's upon us as youth to take that heritage, to take that, diversity that we have, that the world is really looking for, take it, put it into ecosystems, put it into models, put it into value chains and products and services, if possible, that the rest of the world can receive and the rest of the world can support. And not support because it's from Africa, support it because it's a great product, it's a great service offering or product offering that really changes their lives, and it talks about our heritage. And that's my mission with Bathu. I want to build a brand promise and a brand that an Italian, sitting in Italy or anywhere in the world can look at our brand and say, I really love their brand promise. I really love what this brand stands for, and it aligns with me as a person, as an Italian, and I'm going to go buy it. And what we talk about when we say walk your journey, the beauty about journey is that, journey does not have color, size, age, or anything else. Journey different, and we want to of that journey. So my point to you guys is that we as Africans, especially today's youth, since it's Youth Month, it's upon ourselves, to take. I mean, I was telling a friend the other day that 1976. I don't know how many years later it is, but how come that no one has done anything with the 1976 story to try to incorporate it into a powerful ecosystem, a powerful value chain or product or service that the rest of the world can receive? No one has ever done anything. Every year on, and from one year to the next, we keep on commemorating the event of 1976, but no one is doing anything to innovate, to amplify the story through tech, through businesses, through value chains, through ecosystems that the rest of the world can, receive. So it's about time that we as Africans now, we start taking our heritage and boarding it into innovative, I think, service offering into innovative products as well, and really try to change the landscape and the ecosystem of what African entrepreneurship is all about. And we can all do it. We can all do it in different means. It takes time, yes, but we can all do it with the right intentions, with the right, I think, sort of access to information and resources, and tapping into really enhancing our skills as Africans. For me, I think it's very important to really incorporate, everything else that we have and that speaks to us and incorporate it into innovation. It's very, very, very important, and to always build globally. I mean, with our brand, think about it. We build the brand from Alexandra. We built a brand from Alexandra, humble beginnings. No one helped us build this brand except the support of the people that has given us and that have shown us, and the love as well. But we've really built it without getting any sort of funding. And we built it 5 years later. A guy in Kenya, when Brand Africa is conducting a research about Brand Africa or about African brands, a guy sitting in Kenya goes like, Bathu from South Africa, it's a brand that resonates with me, So it clearly goes to show that yes, we have built from Alex, but we're building for the world. We're building a brand that can, attract and have and build a great appetite in other parts of the world. I mean, we're just going through our stats with our online team, e-commerce team the other day, with our Sumizu range, the collab that we've done, to date, with the collab that is about, I think, 4 months, we've done well above 7,000 pairs internationally alone. People sitting in different parts of the world that looked at this collab and then ordered those pairs, for themselves. And yes, it could be South Africans, that are living in other parts of the world. But for the fact that we are building a brand that the rest of the world can really resonate with, and they want to engage and they want to support. And that's who we are. So my message is that let's take our heritage. Yes, the heritage is local, but whatever that we're going to give to the universe, let's be innovative enough so that the rest of the world can receive. We cannot just build, for the state-owned entities. We cannot just build to get tenders. We cannot just build for the temple next door. We cannot just build, for the Vinesh next door. We need to build for a Stephen who's in Silicon Valley. We need to build for Nico and Andrew who's in New York as well. That's who we should have in mind. And we can see it a lot with how the rest of the world is taking African talent and embodying it and embracing it. And then we need to start doing it here before it goes overseas. We can't wait for Trevor Noah to be to be at the Daily Show for us to celebrate him. We can't wait for Jerusalem by Master KG for Ronaldo to dance to it before the president says we need to do a Jerusalem challenge. We need to be able to celebrate it here with us and take it to the rest of the world. I mean, we've got so many advocates, so many ambassadors that are sitting in different parts of the world. They need to wear Bathu shoes, when they go into those parts of the world. They need to wear, suits that are made in Africa. They need to use devices that are made in Africa. They need to carry, who we are in our value chains wherever they go, and that's the best way to do it, to embody what's ours. Like I said, we can't wait for Jerusalem or for international stars to dance to the Jerusalem challenge, so that we can jump on it. It should start here, and the rest of the world should receive it. So we really need to be able to build for the rest of the world. And I think for me, that is utterly, utterly important. I can't stress it enough. Look, guys, I can talk the whole day. Just out of the interest of time, I'm just going to wrap it up with the questions. I see we've got a few questions that are here, and I'm just going to try to take a few and then address it. But I think in closing, that's who we are. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for the invitation to be in this platform. And then we have a sole mandate to build a shoe brand that Africans can proudly affiliate with. And the question is that if we, with this vision, we can to date, employ about 230 people, how far can we take it? And we cannot take it on our own. It's not a Theo thing alone. I always tell my team this, that it's a team's effort. And when I mean team's effort, when you're taking it out there, it's a South African effort, so we truly appreciate the support in an effort to grow our business. So thank you, guys. I can talk the whole day about Bathu, but I think for today I will, cut it short there. And remember, maximize opportunities. You need to maximize opportunities, because opportunities, when you maximize them, they yield more opportunities. If my dad did not sell his car for me to go to varsity, I wouldn't have gotten that opportunity. If anyone couldn't, if I didn't maximize on my studies and get a bursary, Tomorrow Trust wouldn't have given me the bursary. When I got to Tomorrow Trust, if I didn't study hard, to PwC wouldn't have, sponsored my studies. When I got to PwC, and I didn't work hard, they wouldn't have employed me permanent. When they employed me permanent, I continued working hard. They gave me an opportunity to be in Dubai. When I got to Dubai, I didn't waste the opportunity and play with the money and waste the money. I used it to start the business. And when I started the business, the business gave opportunities to other people, in the business, and we built together. So my point is that, and my message for today is that maximize opportunities in respect of their size, shape, and forms. You need to be able to maximize opportunities and try to be innovative as much as you can. I'll take a few questions. Why has scalability been so critical for Bathu shoes? I think, for us, one thing when it comes to scale, like I said, we did was that we focus building brand equity. We're a high turnover business, with minimal cost. So that we never change a lot, and we never misuse the resource, the process that we got from the time. What we then did is that we used the working capital to scale the business. And the reason why it's so important is because looking at, I think retail infrastructure in South Africa and the e-commerce infrastructure in South Africa is that we haven't gotten to a point whereby e-commerce is so strong and data and internet coverage is available for everyone, and people still are not familiar with e-commerce. So it's very important for us to really be able to scale the business and build accessibility, mainly because we have different types of market and retails. So how we segmented our retail is that we identified access markets and growth markets. So there's scalability and I think presence where we build for growth purposes, and some markets is just for access purposes. And in that way, it will help us build that accessibility and the brand equity. So scalability is important because it gives us more reach. It gives us an opportunity to better engage with our clients as well, and to build that brand trust with our clients. So I think for me, at the top of my head, that's why it's important to really scale and grow the business, because we've got the brand side of things that we really want to work on as well. Okay, we've got 10 minutes. What is your personal vision for Bathu? I think for me, my vision is very simple. Like I've said, I talk a lot about walking your journey. So my vision for Bathu, I want Bathu to be a shoe of choice for every African who's onboarding or who is embarking on a journey, and a journey of greatness. It doesn't matter what journey it is, but a journey that symbolizes greatness. And we want to be a part of your journey. So each and every African who can look at our brand and go like, that brand speaks to me, and I want to be able to be a part of it, and I want to be able to tell my story through that brand. And I think that's what I want to capture with our consumers, and that's my personal vision, and that can happen directly and indirectly. And obviously sales are very important when people support us, but even if it's not about sales, but people looking at our brand and finding a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose in their life through, our brand promise and our brand story. Okay, how have you managed to maintain quality, consistency, and control as your business continues to scale in sales volume and HR? How have you kept culture and vision stable? Very, very good question. And I think, talking about that, one of the most important things that I want to advise entrepreneurs on, and I know oftentimes entrepreneurs, we sort of overlook this, but never cheat. I actually tweeted about it the other day. Never cheat the foundation of your human capital, business unit or your HR department. Make sure that the way you do your HR is solid. HR is not only about getting someone to employ, getting a contract, making them sign, saying this is your deliverables, this is the breach we signed, this is how much I want to pay you. HR does not only end there. That is just recruitment and onboarding. There's many other layers of HR that are going to help you sustain the culture, that are going to help you sustain the vision when you scale. Because the minute you only do or cheat your HR, the minute you go through a scale and growth curve, you're going to have a lot of people issues. So make sure that your HR end-to-end function, is well executed. And I know entrepreneurs, we don't feel the need to pay so much money on HR policies and processes and so forth. But trust me, it's important to do them in the early stage, in the primary stage, so that when you go through a scale curve, you don't have a lot of people issues. So it's important to put the right policies in place from the way to go when you're starting your business. In that way, you will be able to maintain your culture and the vision of the business. What advice would you give to someone who is looking for funding to start up a business? There's different forms of advice, but I feel like, number one, you need to understand the nature of your business. You need to understand the mechanics of your business model, because oftentimes people come up with great ideas, but they don't know how to commercialize them. It's important to do a proof of concept, because if you can prove to an investor or whoever the borrower is, right, or whoever that is going to give you money, whether it's a bank, whether it's an investor, a private equity, an angel investor, you need to be able to prove to them that you understand the mechanics of your business, you have done a proof of concept, and all you need for you is to either start it or to scale it. So if I can come and say, this is the brand, I sold 5 pairs and I've done my research and the market says they are willing to buy 50 pairs. However, I don't have the money for, to buy the 50 pairs now. I want you to invest and help me scale this. It's a different story when you haven't done anything. You know what I mean? When you don't even have the shoes. So be able to prove, and do all the checks, especially when it comes to mechanics of your business and commercializing it. How are we making money? And then not only explaining it, but sort of have a proof of concept to say, I'm sure about this model that it works because I've actually sold 3 pairs of shoes. And all I need is for you, to invest and, so that we can sell 20 pairs of shoes. So it's very important to really clearly define those, I think, pillars, commercialization, proof of concept, and mechanics of your model. It's very important that you clearly define them. I think I can take the last question. Your growth has been phenomenal and seems to have happened quite rapidly. How did you determine when was the right time to expand? How did you know it was the time to grow? Was your growth determined by the demand for your product, or did you expand and then work on increasing the demand? Very good question. Like I said, I was very intentional. The first 2 years of my business, I was a high turnover business and low cost, I had a very low OPEX, a bill. So what I then did was that, in so doing, I had a lot of offers from landlords who wanted me to open shops and do so many other things. I kept it like that, high turnover business, very minimal OPEX bill. And then that helped me to build my working capital. I mean, to date, with all the expansion that was happening, we haven't received anything from anyone. It's all our proceeds and all our resource that we reinvest in now. And quite ironic, the funny part was that in that 2 years is that we sort of, it's like we knew that COVID is going to happen. We knew that there's going to be days when COVID is coming. And then by then we will be able to sustain our business and still grow it. I mean, in COVID, when we went down to lockdown and we closed all our stores, we paid our employees, 100% salaries, never cut down on salaries. We never actually fired anyone during COVID. We sustained all the jobs. And mainly because from the foundation of the business, we are very intentional and we made sure that we're building a healthy working capital. So to answer our question, we really made sure that we're building a healthy working capital and invest in the right avenues. So I think that's about it. We just got load shed. So I will, just keep it here, and I think I will end it here.